The one aircraft America most wanted to put in a museum was pulled back to the front line at the most dangerous moment in the Middle East, not because it was more advanced, but because in the Strait of Hormuz, the scariest thing is not missing the target, but hitting the wrong one. And that is exactly where the problem begins. Because today's US military clearly has the world's best sensors, the most advanced stealth fighters, the most complex data links, and the most complete air network. By all logic, a Cold War aircraft like the A-10 should have been replaced long ago. But the problem is, the Strait of Hormuz is not a laboratory, not a firing range, and not an empty desert. It is one of the most crowded places in the world, one of the most sensitive, and one of the most likely to explode the situation instantly because of a single misjudgment. After this round of escalation, the Strait of Hormuz was severely disrupted for a time. Even by April 8, during the 2-week ceasefire window, there were still around 200 oil tankers waiting in line to pass through. Because this strait carries about 20% of the world's oil flow, which means you are not facing just one target, but an entire field of targets, all packed onto the same stretch of water. Their heat signatures are similar, their silhouettes are similar, and sometimes even their flight paths look alike. Once the judgment is wrong, the consequence is not just hitting the wrong target. It could directly trigger a much bigger international incident, and that is exactly where the problem lies. What this war really exposed was not that America lacks advanced aircraft, but that no matter how advanced the aircraft is, it still cannot solve the problem of how to judge after you see. That is where the A-10 fits into this war. It is not the most advanced eye in the system, but it is the eye with the most time to truly see the target clearly. But the part that really makes people wonder is this. The most advanced F-35 is already in the sky. So why does the US still need the A-10 to fill this role? That is the point. Being powerful does not mean being suitable for this mission. The core design of the F-35 is to detect first, lock first, and fire first. What it does best is dealing with high-value targets, long-range situational awareness, and information superiority in complex air combat environments. But in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, the problem is never that you cannot find targets. The problem is that you suddenly find too many targets at once. And then, in a very short amount of time, you have to decide which one can be struck, which one cannot, which one can be hit without causing a bigger disaster, and which one, if missed, will cause a disaster immediately. That is the hardest part. The issue is not whether you can see it, but whether, after seeing it, you dare to fire immediately. That is one of the most awkward truths of modern warfare. The most advanced aircraft may not be the most suitable aircraft. So why not just use drones? They seem better suited for this kind of mission than the A-10. But the truly deadly part of the Strait of Hormuz has never been whether you can watch for a long time. It is whether, while watching, you can still stay alive. This is not a low-threat airspace. This is not a place where you can loiter for 10 hours and be fine. It is close to the Iranian coast, close to swarms of fast boats, close to man-portable air defense systems, and close to threats from medium and small caliber fire. So yes, drones have value, but what they solve is mostly the problem of seeing, not the problem of enduring. They can serve as eyes, but they are not the kind of platform that can take fire and still force the situation under control. And that is what makes Hormuz so difficult. Some aircraft can see clearly, but cannot survive the pressure. Some aircraft can survive the pressure, but cannot stay long enough. And the A-10 happens to be the platform that comes closest to doing both at once. It is not being used again in this war because it is the most advanced. Quite the opposite. It is precisely because it is so old that it still preserves a kind of capability many aircraft today no longer emphasize. That capability is this. If a battlefield like the Strait of Hormuz could keep only one aircraft, would you choose the F-35 the MQ-9 or the A-10? You can give only one reason. Which one would you choose?